All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I don't like doing React content because, in my opinion, especially considering that I don't have Zach or asmongold, whichever name you want to call him by, I don't have his express permission to use his content, and I hope he doesn't get mad about me doing it. But he does raise some very good points. I kind of just want, it's not so much a reaction to him as it is the clips that he pulled up. Um, I kind of wanted to offer my own little in depth take on things. And there might be a little bit of research involved too, because I think a lot of people kind of got the wrong impression from the election that we just had. And I know I said the last video, I said I was pretty well done with political content, but this one kind of it hit a little close to home because of something that happened to me when I was a lot younger, under the age of 18, that led to me learning a lesson about self-control, self-discipline, but also accountability. And it's something I really think people should take to heart, especially people in the Democrat Party, although I do see it a lot in certain Republican circles as well. And that is mostly this lack of self-control and accountability. It's never your fault because you messed up or you did something wrong. It's always someone else. And kind of I'll let his video do some of the talking because I know he's a fan favorite of just about everyone, including myself on the internet. Although I don't agree with him on everything that he says. I mean, logically, some of it makes sense, but you got to remember you're talking to someone who's mostly of the Christian perspective. I mean, I believe the book, and we could have that conversation another time. But that's not what this video is about.
My sadness is over. My anger has set in. I am a very petty person. And
Why is every person has things? I've never seen a person that had one of these and there wasn't something wrong with them.
I don't know, but the one thing that I keep thinking of every time I see one, and I've seen a lot of them over the last like 3 days on Twitter, is where's my 9 volt battery?
I am very proud of that. Love it about myself, actually. And so I say this in the most disrespectful way possible. I don't care if you are my family. I don't care if you're my friend. I don't care if we've been friends our entire lives. You can literally go fuck yourself if you voted for Donald Trump. If you are so sad about your groceries being expensive, get a better fucking paying job.
I'm gonna stop him right there. Do you know how much a plumber makes? Every time we bring a plumber into the house, I have to drop anywhere from $100. That's just for a water filter change and a small cleaning job on our forced air furnace, by the way, to like $500 to $600 if there's a major repair. And actually, that's not even accurate. Actually, that's for a mediocre repair. We had to just replace the so when you have a well, there's these tanks that keep the pressure consistent so you don't have pulsating water in all of your faucets and stuff. Well, ours, the leather seal inside of it and some of the rubber had just been, wear and tear over 20 years. It cost us $700 for the unit and $300 for the guy to replace it. It was like $1,000. It was insane. Think about this for a minute. $700 for the part, $300 for the guy to put it in, which, by the way, the guy was so fast, he had it put in like 20 minutes. Okay? He could have done 3 more of these and made probably close to a month at minimum wage in a day. Like one day. I just, it blew my mind, okay? At how expensive that was. But um the same guy. I actually he's also one of our neighbors. The plumbing company's like right up the road. Um, the same guy. I met him in a store, and I saw him shopping, and he had like 5, 10 things in the cart, and he was getting ready to cash out at Walmart. And I'm like, dude, you're making bank as a plumber. How come you're not buying like steak and stuff? He said, well, yes, I'm making a lot of money, but my car payment basically got doubled because of the interest rates and, greedy, people who want their money. His rent got increased because his landlord was running out of money to feed himself and his family, apparently. The price of food went up, and the price of gas has remained at about $3.50 here in Maine. We used to have it at about $2.50 back when Trump was president the first time around. Actually, we had a town here that blew my mind, and it was like the only town I'd go to get gas. They had it for $1.80. I was ecstatic. It was amazing. A little town called Mercer, Maine. It was great. Anyway, so this guy wants to yammer on about you need a better job. Okay, well, we're talking about a plumber, and I know this guy is not the plumber I've been talking about, is not some bigwig plumber. He's like middle. Okay, so certain careers have like different levels. You have apprentice, journeyman, master. This guy was maybe a journeyman, right? He wasn't no master, that's for sure. But like he was still making some pretty serious bank. He told me it was close to $100,000 a year. Oh man, this is terrible. So, anyway, I hear this brain dead take from this guy, and I'm like, typical liberal university goer who has no idea what the rest of us go through because he makes more money and doesn't give a rip about how anyone else has to live. Let's continue. Oh.
They just can't stop losing. We're not losing enough. We need to lose even more.
I'll touch that in a minute.
Do something. You're fucking stupid. And I hope you go jump off a fucking bridge.
Oh man.
What is the lesson that your party?
I don't want to have her response play to this whole thing quite yet. So here is my problem with what he said there. He works at a school, apparently. If you do the Twitter research, you'll find that he works at some like Oregon University or something like that. Man, this stuff can't leave my system fast enough. So here's my response to him calling people stupid. Dude, I could tear down your car and weld it together into a fancy piece of modern art before you could say, whoops. I voted for Trump. You, on the other hand, are just some liberal arts college attendee who wouldn't know how to tie his own shoe, let alone which way a wrench turns to tighten a bolt. Okay? I don't want to hear it. Spare me your BS. Alright? Most of my money that I would be making right now if I wasn't sick comes from fixing vehicles of friends and family. The YouTube thing I just started to pick up more as a hobby. I wouldn't mind if it turned into a career, but I hear it's really stressful, like more than what I'm used to. So I don't know if it's something I'm really up for. I just saw this from Asmongold and wanted to give my kind of 2 cents on the matter. But like, Asmongold is right. It's just a constant, like, they don't realize what this stuff is doing. And I'll hit on that ball at the end of this whole thing.
The Democratic Party worked very hard, and they raised,
Okay.
substantial sum of
Hang
money.
on. This colored lady here, this black woman here, her name is Maxine Waters. She is a Democrat senator from California. She's not really the brightest crayon in the box, so to speak, mentally speaking. She's the one who was calling for violence the first time Donald Trump was in office by saying that people should be getting into his supporters and his cabinet members' faces at restaurants and stuff. And she did call for other things too that were even worse than that. But that's kind of the more famous one. You're about to hear her brain dead take, and you'll see Asmon react to it. His reaction to it is pretty spot on.
We had great candidates, and so Trump had a following, basically generally led by whites. White males voted.
They can't stop. It's just what I said like yesterday. They literally cannot stop doing it.
In big numbers.
Well,
Few.
No, they can't stop themselves. At this point, it's all that they know. It's their ideology. It is literally the ideology. They have to do this because if they don't do this, to them, they're basically Satan if they don't do it, right?
From the other race groups
The others.
that joined
Yeah.
in, like the Latinos at 45%, and
That's a
black
lot.
men at about the same rate that they did when they voted for him before, at about 20%. That combination won. And so it is not that Democrats did not work hard, did not do
All right, I'm going to stop that right there. No, that's exactly what it is. It is exactly what it is. And I will explain that. CNN, MSNBC, ABC, and CBS News, all of them were screaming, it's the economy, stupid. Up and down, left and right. But your democratically hired, your hired Democrat advisors to Kamala Harris kept telling her to keep pushing this racism nonsense. Because it was easy. Because then they didn't have to do any work. They didn't have to do anything to win it. Well, guess what? If you don't put in the work, if you don't do the grind, you don't get what's at the other end. Asmongold knows all about that grind mentality. He's a World of Warcraft player. The only reason I know about it is because of my limited time playing Destiny 2, which I deeply regret these days, because I could have taken that money that I blew on that friggin' game, which ended up being a world-class disappointment, and I probably could have at least made a down payment, or part of a down payment on a decent vehicle, that I don't have to work on every other month. Carrying on. Yeah, so I'll let this play out.
great job. We had
It's that we hate women. Well, if that's true, why'd you run a woman? If you actually think that everybody hates women, why would you run a woman?
an unusual situation where we had a black woman, which this country
Right.
has never seen before.
It didn't matter. It did not matter. She was a vacuous woman who listened to bad advisors and ended up being basically the modern equivalent of Walter Mondale. Look him up if you don't know who he is.
Combination of all of those things led to his win.
See, here's how you know that that's not really what they believe. Because if they genuinely believed that Kamala Harris was disqualified because she was a black woman, they wouldn't have run her. They don't actually think this. They're just coming up with excuses for...
He's right on that. They are coming up with excuses. But it's the excuses that they're using that's kind of like a big tell here. And I'm not a big poker player, but like it's like playing Call of Duty and you can't see the guy, but you can see him walking like you're sniping, and you can see the shadow animation of him walking back and forth, and you're like, okay, yeah, he's there doing the thing. Whenever Democrats, and by the way, Republicans have a version of this too, but whenever Democrats in particular, this particular specific case is very unique to them, have something that's wrong with a campaign that they don't want to fess up to, they usually blame someone else with being racist or bigoted in some way. It's a very common thing for them to do. In the case of Republicans, it used to be oh, you're like you're for abortion, you're for killing babies, you know. That argument, while I am pro-life, that argument is usually used as a deflection from wanting to actually explain the real reason that you disagree or the real reason that things went wrong. Um, it's a deflection. You don't want to take accountability, because if you're a politician, accountability is your friggin' kryptonite. It's game over if you have to be put in a place where you have to take accountability. And that's true of all angles. I'll carry on later. I'm going to let Asmongold finish his bits
Why
here.
they lost.
Cannot have believed that it would be easy to elect a woman president, let alone a woman of color. Let's just be clear. And nothing that was true yesterday about how
Brain donor.
this campaign was run is not true now. Queen Latifah never endorses anyone.
Queen Latifah and other prominent celebrities endorsing her. This is the qualifying statement about whether the campaign was run well or not. What?
She had the Taylor Swiftie to the Swift.
Okay. Let me explain to you why this woman is absolutely brain dead. Her and Al Sharpton are what we call race hustlers. In this case, they're not really race hustling. They're hustling race and gender. But what it is they exist to do really just one thing. Whip up a group of people into a frenzy for profit. Warmongering is another version of this behavior. Al Sharpton made his bones whipping up sectors of the black community, in some cases for legitimate causes. Like, I won't lie, there were a couple of them that, kind of even had me like, yeah, what the hell. But a majority of them aren't. There's stuff that needed to be handled in other ways, but he didn't want to do that because it wouldn't have lined his pockets as well. In the case of Joy Reid here, she needs it to appear popular with her liberal leftist buds. And if she doesn't have that, she doesn't have anything at all. Well, that's one way to do it, I guess. But don't come to me and tell me that you're the news when you're a propagandist, because it's literally all that she is. She is a race-hustling propagandist for the Democrat Party. It's all she's ever been. Literally all she's ever been. Hate the white folk, hate anyone that's not black, because I gotta be on MSNBC as kind of the semi-token-esque black person who is, against oppression that really doesn't exist in the way that I'm going to make it out to be. That's literally who she is in a nutshell. She's the one who came out and literally labeled off Trump as Hitler and all this other stuff. And it's like, lady, we already had him for 4 years. Where's all the Hitler stuff? I got other examples of things that she's done in the past, but we won't get into it today.
She had the beehive. Like, you could not have run a better campaign. You only have to be blunt about why.
Okay.
Black voters.
This is where I'm going to call her on it. I have to call her out on this. Walter Mondale is probably the one person off the top of my head in American presidential history who may have run a worse campaign than Kamala Harris. There may be a few others, but he's the one that comes to mind. To be blunt, you would have been better off with Joe Biden, not because of his skin color or his gender or his age or even his experience, but because he actually had better advisors than Kamala Harris ever could. And that kind of leads me to think that the Democrats were kind of sabotaging her, because, to be fair, I've even heard Democrat senators in the past criticize this woman as being vacuous. There are records of this exact insult being used against her numerous times from other Democrats. It's not about her skin color. It's about the fact that the only thing that she could do is just repeat what she's told like a parrot.
Came through for Kamala Harris. White women.
They can't let it go.
It's not just
Nope.
misogyny from white men.
Okay, man on the far right on the right side of this 3-person panel. I won't call him far right because he's definitely not, and I'm glad he's not. We have enough of those on the right side of the political spectrum as it is. Um, Here's the thing. That is Al Sharpton. Now, Al Sharpton has a kind of reputation amongst conservatives. We have a couple nicknames for him. One of them is Al Charlatan, or Al Charlatan, because to us, most of us, a lot of us, that's what he is. He's out there to hustle his community for money and profit by inciting violence or, inciting some sort of outrage, but just staying just barely on this side of the legality so he can't be taken to court and having his crap suit out from under him or end up in prison for inciting violence. In reality, if the judges were a little bit more strict, he absolutely would be in prison to this day. But yes, the expression on Asmongold's face is very fitting because he knows what's coming.
Misogyny from Hispanic men. Right. It's misogyny from black men. Things we've all been talking about.
They just can't let it go. We lost because all these racist Mexicans. Listen to your fucking self.
Do not want a woman.
That's funny. That's a good one.
Might be race issues with Hispanic. Want a black woman, especially in Nigeria. You know,
Everything is looked at through this lens. I don't think they're capable of stopping. Everything is about this.
you and I have talked about this before. A lot of Hispanic voters have problems with black candidates.
Right.
A lot of
with other Hispanics.
I'm going to expand on what was just said here a little bit because I kind of got to pick it apart. And I know Asmongold is going to be laughing his butt off at this crap because it is ridiculous. Black people, Latino people, Asian people, and white people, do you want to know what the one thing they have in common? They can't stand illegal immigration. And there's a reason for that, and I'll explain. Illegal immigration is something that disproportionately negatively affects normal everyday people who have jobs worse than it does people of this status. People who are on the newscasts, who live in gated communities, who will never understand what it's like to be a normal person because they've never been a normal person a day in their life, or it's been so long in the case of Al Sharpton that he's long since forgot it because of his age, which I don't blame him. Most people can't remember learning how to tie their shoes like I can. I understand that not everyone has the messed up memory that mine is. But here's where they're wrong. Okay, it's not misogyny. It's not racism either. It's not even xenophobia. It's your party is responsible for leaving our border wide open and sending illegal migrants all over the country into the states that these people live in. And what happens is the apartments and the jobs evaporate like that just as soon as you do that, because unlike the people that actually live here, these migrants, these illegal immigrants that are supposed to be, either they're supposed to be being decided on either being sent back, which they should be anyway, because crossing the border illegally is actually a federal offense. I forget the exact coding. I think it was 18 U.S. Code C, but I could be wrong on that. I could be very wrong on that. But yes, the very act of crossing a United States border, either from the oceans, Canada, or Mexico, or anywhere else, is a violation of federal law. And when you violate federal law, you're supposed to be deported. That's the way the system's supposed to work. Now, does that mean that you can't apply to immigrate later? Well, you can, but doing illegally immigrating here and trespassing like that puts what's called a red flag, or actually in that case it's called a black flag, against your account with the United States, basically, and it takes like 10 to 20 years for that to disappear. Now the feds will sit there and deny that this exists. Dude, it exists. Trust me. Just take my word for it. I know. You don't offer any proof. Dude, talk to a border agent who's not on the clock. Talk to them for more than 5 minutes. Maybe crack open a beer. They'll tell you exactly that this thing exists. It's a small database. Actually, it's not so small. It's kind of large. Of people who've committed various crimes when they came into this country. They get blacklisted or brown listed off of being able to legally migrate into this country depending on what they did. And if they're caught here, it's an instant deportation back to their country. Now, in my mind, that's not good enough. I think if you black flag and you come back, black flagging would be like committing something heinous. I think if you black flag and you come back with the intention of doing more harm, you've made yourself an enemy of the United States, and we all know where that goes. But, that's my opinion. That's not, there is no, like, real fact behind that, but that's how I think it should work. Anyway, the problem people have with illegal immigration is what I said before, and I'm rambling a little bit, but, it takes away the opportunities for the people that are already here, and the reason that Latino immigrants, you know what, screw it, Mexican immigrants, anyone south of that border who comes here legally, the reason they don't like illegal immigrants is because they're taking away the opportunities that, by the way, these Latino men and women will work. They will work. They're some of the hardest working people you'll meet in most cases. And I'm not talking about their kids that have that entitled, well, I was born here, so I'm an American attitude. I'm talking about their parents. The ones that know what it was like to have to cross cartel controlled lands and desert just to get here. And maybe they had to travel through the cartel system to get to the border. They know what it's like, and they don't want it for their kids. That's why they're here in the first place. The problem is that in the United States, we have a limit on resources like jobs and housing right now. We have a hard enough time housing, the people that are already here. That's why we have a homeless crisis. So when you flood illegal immigrants across the border from all over the planet, they get mad. The black folk get mad too. Asians get mad too. Indonesians get mad. Everyone with half a brain in their skull that's paying attention and that this actually affects in a bad way gets mad. Now, who does it affect positively? Well, not usually politicians unless they're trying to rig up some phony baloney, increase of population to their state to try to bolster their electoral votes using this manipulating the census, basically, which can happen and does happen quite a bit. There is nowhere on the U.S. Census that asks whether you're a citizen of the United States or a legal immigrant or otherwise. Excuse me. So there's that. I'm not going to get into the other theories that some people have floated around, like how they've been using fake driver's licenses and all that stuff to vote or whatever else. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm just talking about the general, the census. It is a fact that when a census worker goes to a home, they have to speak, they don't have to speak Spanish. They actually have to have access to a translator if they can't. So what happens is you have a home. Let's use the neighborhood example. Let's say the census is just of a neighborhood. You've got your legal migrants, you've got your illegal immigrant home, you got a white home, black home, Asian home, right? So all the ones that aren't the illegal migrants, right? They're all going to go out there. I love to tell the census to go eat it. I can't stand them knowing who I have in my home, or sending someone who works for the government to my home to talk to me. I don't want anything to do with the government. They can go eat a bag of God, I don't know if I can say this on YouTube. They can eat a bag of dicks. As far as I'm concerned, I don't hurt anybody and I don't want them here because I just can't stand the bureaucracy of it. I think it's all a crock of ish. Um, anyway, um, it's just, it's a bad thing because it gives, it just, it gives that part of the neighborhood more influence than it had already. So it disproportionately affects the people that are there in a negative way by removing their influence and their voice in, say, local matters that may be a part of like the neighborhood, the homeowners association, right? Like, okay, well, your home has 30 kids in it. You got a big home because you got, government help because they have to house you until they can figure out whether to keep you or send you back. Well, in the meantime, you get to basically set policy if you can, get enough people there. It's just not, it's not amenable. It's not amenable at all. No one likes it. Um, because it negatively affects them. Now, the big businesses and the rich folk, they like it because then they can turn around and say, oh, they're here illegally. Well, guess what? Here's a below minimum wage paycheck because I don't want to pay a normal person a decent wage, right? And you have that on the left and the right. That's not even political. That's just, it happens. But it takes away that job from someone else who, does want to work it because that option is available. They're gonna. It's like the path of least resistance, right? Lightning. It'll strike the tallest most of the time. It'll strike the tallest object, but it definitely follows the path of least resistance. So, do businessmen, CEOs, etc. If they can get it done cheaper, costing them less money and not having to worry about, HR, and especially if they can pay for it under the table without getting the IRS involved, they love that crap. Are you kidding? They're all about it. But let's go on with the video.
Exactly. Don't like each other. And some of the most misogynist things I've heard came from black men. I mean, misogynist things. So you're absolutely right. And we've got to have real honest conversations about it. Real honest conversations.
Honest conversations about which group of minorities can be blamed. Is it black people's fault?
I've been on Twitter for the last 3 weeks, almost pathologically. I've been hearing all kinds of things, and there are some pretty misogynist things that I've heard. But let me tell you one thing that I haven't really heard. Or one thing that I'll tell you the one thing that I've heard repeatedly. It's the economy stupid. And this is coming from everyone. It is the economy stupid. She had no economic policy that made sense. And when she claimed that she did, and she had 15 experts from some college somewhere, most of us just kind of rolled our eyes and said, great, you're a politician who has basically the thumbs up from a bunch of experts who probably gave you a 5-minute assessment of your policy without actually reading into it and gave you the thumbs up because they just wanted to be able to say that they were involved in the election. Good for them. Great. Bad for the rest of us because they probably didn't give you an honest opinion. Whereas Donald Trump doesn't need those experts. He's run real estate his whole life. He's ran several successful businesses and more than a few that have failed. That's how business works. Sometimes you fail. Sometimes you have to tap that bankrupt button. But you don't know until you try it. Kamala Harris hasn't tried anything except for what Willie Brown was offering. And you know what? The joke is true. Willie Brown and this election have one thing in common. Kamala blew them both. Because she was too vacuous to do her own research on what people are actually talking about. For once, the mainstream media was right. The economy was the big issue. The economy and immigration were the two big issues of this election. I think the third one, I could be wrong on this, but I think it was like not getting into World War III, basically. Not getting into conflict overseas. So, like, the fact that she just outright ignored all these people saying that is really what cost her the election. Now, I'm definitely a partisan, I'm a conservative, but, like, that's just kind of stating the obvious at this point. It's not even me being overly analytical. It's just like you didn't listen to what the people were telling you. You listened to your advisors who kept saying racism all the time, and then you lost. It's the same thing with these video games that we have coming out now. It's all we made what we think is a good game. So we have all these critics who are concerned about keeping access to our products so they give us good reviews all the time, making us falsely feel better about ourselves, while the customers who are actually there to enjoy the game suffer because, well, we're making them an inferior product in the name of some investor program somewhere. So they're getting bad information on two fronts. The investors want the DEI stuff, and and there are some staff members at some of these game development companies that are like that too. That's why they're hired, actually. It's because they think that they can write like that, and they've quote unquote proven with a resume, which we all know that could be falsified entirely. That they can write good stories while having inclusion stuff in it. And which, by the way, Mass Effect, we have games before this that were good that had this kind of crap in it. And I say crap because I just don't want to get into the whole thing. But it is in fact just the writing that takes the hit because of what the external factors, and the fact that the external factors made you hire someone that's a DEI writer instead of just a writer who's been, time tested and tried and true and has written good stories for, a decade or two. Yeah, a century's 100, decade is 10. My math brain no worky so good right now. So you just sit there and blame the misogyny and the bigots online, and it's like, no, we don't care. The only reason we care about that is because we see it there, and you sacrifice the story, but you still shoehorn that stuff in without actually giving it any real story. You're going to sit a bunch of random characters around at a table, have one be the, I'm throwing a fit because I don't like what I'm seeing here. Arr, and the other character is all, I'm throwing a fit because I don't feel right in my body. Arr. And then you have the other person who's like, can I please just eat my dinner? I just want to eat my dinner. Like, you can argue, let me eat my dinner in peace. I'll step away from the table. You two do your thing, right? Well, I feel like the gamer's that third person at the table who's just trying to eat, man. Y'all want to have a prison yard brawl over your ideology, while the rest of us just want to eat in the mess hall without having, a food fight or, a riot. It's insane. It's nuts. But, they're wrong. Shocker, shocker, shocker. They're absolutely wrong about what caused Kamala Harris to fail. It was bad strategy and bad planning on the part of the Democrats because they hired the wrong advisors and they believed this DEI nonsense right down to the last letter, making them scream up and down that Trump is Hitler and it's all about racism and misogyny, when in fact none of us ever cared about that stuff. We care about putting food on our table. We care about putting money in our savings. We care about not having to pay taxes. And for the love of God, not having some federal agency busting down, or state agency busting down our door to kill our pets. And having bad school boards that are indoctrinating our kids about stuff that, by the way, we don't want our kids to learn about until we're ready to have that conversation with them. But you want to go around and say, don't tell your parents, like some sort of PETA predator, basically. And I don't know if I can use what word I can use on that one. I'll just use what JD Delay does. Chomo. Like you're some kind of chomo. Don't tell your parents. It's creepy as hell. Stop it. Just stop it. If you think that we need to have that conversation, go to the parents and tell them, hey, I think your kid is trans because of this. And show them the evidence. And then discuss it with the parents as far as what you think needs to happen. And if they kick you out of their house, that's their right. Take it on the chin, walk away. Just walk away. Now, if the kid comes back the next day and they're covered in stuff that ain't exactly chocolate, then call the police. All right? I hate to say it, but law enforcement organizations in this country are not preventative. They are reactive. They're not. They don't prevent. They prevent by being proactive, meaning that the fear of having that consequence is the thing that prevents it from happening from other people. So they have to enforce the law, right? Anyway, I think that's about going to do it. I'm going to finish watching the last, not even, 10 seconds of this.
Is it men's fault, Latinos' fault, gay people? Is it gay people's fault? Probably their fault, too. Who are we going to blame?
Yeah, it's all the blame game. They'll never take... There's one thing about the left that drives me nuts. And it's the thing that my dad hammered into me when I was 11, 12 years old. Self-control, right? Being able to regulate your emotions. If you see me acting up on stream, that's mostly an act. There's probably a couple of times that it wasn't, but they're few and far between. It's mostly to entertain. I'm not out here acting like a jackass because I can or because I don't have control over what I do and what I don't do. It's because I have control over my emotions, and I know that certain emotions, like a certain level of rage or heightened voices and anger, are going to inspire certain responses in my comment section, which are virtually non-existent, by the way. And I say that to mean there's only one person who's ever been in my chat, and that person is family. So my channel is new, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just reacting to this, what I saw here, because I wanted to give a little bit of insight of the stuff that I've seen. And the meltdowns from this election are spectacular. If you have a Twitter, go type in meltdown in the search bar and just grab a bag of popcorn and your favorite soda. I know asmongold, that would be Dr. Pepper, I think. And just chill out and I shouldn't say this because it's very non-Christian, but the salt mines are open for business, ladies and gentlemen. It's pretty nuts. And it is a little entertaining, and I shouldn't be enjoying it this much, but I am. Yeah. First time doing React content, leave a comment. Tell me what I did wrong. Asmongold, if you want to do a react to you, whatever, do you, dude. If you want to get into my comments and tell me I'm a jerk for using your content without your permission, oh, please, by all means. If that's the case, let me know. I'll take this down in a heartbeat. It really doesn't, deleting this video. My channel's so small right now. Deleting one live stream is not going to make a difference one way or the other to me. Because it's not going to matter. I'll just go hunt down the clips and react to them myself. It worked out for me because you kind of had a nice little neat compilation of some of the cream of the crop stuff sitting there, and it let me kind of bounce off of your reaction a little bit. You didn't say anything wrong, but you didn't really address the kind of the elephant and donkey show in the room, and that's not meant to be sick. Get your minds out of the gutter. Which is fine. You're not a political channel. I realize that. I love that you're a drama channel. I'm really not into Minecraft. Friggin' A, my daughter's got that in my brain. Really not a Warcraft person, although I did really like that movie. I thought it was pretty good, and I wish they'd make a sequel because I liked it. But Just the game itself. Look, MMOs are just not my jam. All right, they're not. Now, ARPGs, I'm not a professional. In fact, my idea of a good ARPG was, and I'm gonna get dragged for this one, but Diablo 3. I played as the wizard class. There was just something about being able to unibeam everything in sight that just felt fun for me. Sue me. I was actually really upset when they changed the etched sigil to only do the twister thing. Still kind of burnt about that one. Because my former build before they did that was the disintegrate with meteor drop attached to it. Just because, it was funny. But anyway, that's enough rambling from me. Hopefully everyone has a lovely night. If you like the content, like and subscribe. If you don't like the content, leave me a comment. Heck, hit me a dislike, Let me know what I'm doing wrong here. I think it's good for new people to understand. But I think we're going to call it a night. Have a good night on this particular topic. I'll probably start up. It's a little late. I should really get some sleep. I have work stuff to do tomorrow. Yeah, I think we'll save the Borderlands 2 stream for some point in time tomorrow. I still have to do the Mega Man dice roll thing in the morning. That's usually about an hour. So I'll figure out my schedule, but I'm trying to figure out where to fit in a more adult conversation level, like gaming stream where I can kind of discuss what I feel and how things are going on. Well, not really what I feel, but how I'm thinking about things. And maybe some off the walls topics about things. We might even get into the alien UFO thing if we really want to go down that rabbit hole, right? But anyway, have a good night, y'all.